Hi, everybody. Hey, you know you're living in an alternate reality when a beautiful young woman in a jeans ad is called a Nazi symbol. Uh, the ad's called Nazi propaganda. I mean, let's be honest. Actress Sydney Sweeney, I believe her name is, young, stunning, beautiful woman. Um, the stuff of young men's dreams, I'm sure, and perhaps some older guys' dreams. Not mine, perhaps, but we'll leave that right there. The point being is the woke left, which is a redundancy if there ever was one, um, just can't help themselves. Uh, I mean, it's a classic young woman, beautiful, pretty, attractive, nice body, nice figure, right? And and she's in a jeans ad. Not terribly unlike what oh that young actress was Brooke Shields was in probably 30 years ago for Calvin Klein, right? Same kind of thing. Nothing comes between me and my Calvins, I think was one of the taglines. But somehow, uh, Miss Sweeney is a threat to the left. Why? How could that be? I mean, let's just kind of extend this a little bit. Their thinking. So you have a blonde-haired, blue-eyed female, quite obviously female, and you know, wearing jeans in a provocative way and looking alluring and all that kind of stuff. So, and you've got other people who look nothing like her criticizing her all over the place. So, what's the threat? I have a theory on that. I don't know if it's true, but I have a. I think it's partially true at least, and that would be classic beauty, maybe other classic ideas are coming back into American culture, maybe with a vengeance, perhaps. Um, I think it's crystal clear that the woke left has had its day. I don't think they're gaining ground right now. I think it's the opposite. I think they're losing ground rapidly. And it's stupidity like this that's helping them do it, which continue, please. Go forth, right? I mean, so what else is happening out in American culture? Well, there's YouTube sites and discussions on traditional wives. Um, Masculinity is making a comeback. So traditional gender roles are being re-explored, talked about, celebrated. What else? Oh, and Christianity. Yeah, kind of the source of a lot of those things, right? The source of the patriarchy, our Father who art in heaven. That's the ultimate patriarchy, by the way. That's making a comeback. And of course, with that comes a whole host of other concepts that the woke left would rather not see um, revived among the common cultural discourse. Things like the Bible, sin, God's redemptive sacrifice, the belief in God itself, um, and a not a disbelief, but certainly a less than faithful adherence to the best that science has to offer. The phrase during the recent COVID thing was, follow the science. I believe the science, right? But it turned out that science, to a large extent, has and was shown to have prostituted itself to the left, to the pharmacological bureaucracy and that dominated government policy and shortened and or truncated our freedoms rather, restricted our movements, restricted our rights for a couple of years, and, and propagated the same science propagated lies in terms of what's safe and effective, the source of a virus. Was it a lab or was it a wet market? Um, but this has been going for a long time. The science, the scientific community, this whole scientific premise has just been shot to hell. Fauci, Nobody believes you anymore. Um, but that goes in a whole bunch of different areas. Uh, Evolution. Guys like David Berlinski, certainly not a Bible basher by any stretch of the imagination. He's a Jewish agnostic. I think he's connected to with a Muslim woman in Paris, I think. I mean, so I mean, certainly not on the right, certainly not a Christian right person. Um, he certainly doesn't believe or he certainly understands the abuse of science. He wrote a book called, I think it was Darwin's Doubt. Um, that may have been another book, but he wrote several books. He says nobody in their right mind, no scientist believes in evolution, but that's where the money is. So you get scientists propagating evolution um, because apparently 1 in 3 still buy the theory, and buy is the key word. We have the best scientists money can buy, and they're all bought. And that was Galertner's point: is that look, we're not talking about truth; we're talking about narrative, and they're not interested in truth. They're interested in perpetuating the narrative and deriving power from it, and that's what people are coming to see. And Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is talking about that with the whole pharmacological and the overkill on vaccines for small children, and what's in our food and what's in our water, what's in our just tremendously damaging things that science has given us. Okay? Nutritional science, food science. What's more, I mean, Christianity has become very, very compelling to a lot of people who it wasn't compelling to not just a few years ago. Joe Rogan, I don't know if he's converted, but I certainly know he has a deep interest in it. What's his name? Russell Brand has converted to Christianity. Chris Pratt, the actor. And that's just a couple off the top of my head. I didn't prepare a list here before I started talking today for this little podcast here. But the point being is that the woke left is, dare I say it, rapidly heading for extinction in this country. And I don't think a better thing could happen. Meanwhile, American Eagle jeans, the brand that Sydney Sweeney was hawking, their stock is up over $400 million. At least it was earlier today. I don't know what it is right now. Doesn't matter. And all due, to some degree, to a lovely young lady in an American Eagle ad. All this, the talk of the Bible, the talk of traditional wives and traditional gender roles and masculinity and biblical truths and so forth, and biblical contexts for understanding the world. They didn't all come from the jeans ad, but they were all interrelated in terms of a trend of thinking and a rejection of a mode of thinking. And here's the thing. People are rejecting science not because they don't want to know the truth. I think people do. But science has been propagating, as I said earlier, a narrative. And whenever someone uses the word narrative in a context of, well, we got to control the narrative, has nothing to do with truth. It has to do with controlling the messaging, controlling people's thinking, controlling you, how you think, your assumptions in life, and so forth. So, narrative is a word I really don't like. And science and the establishment, the nutritional establishment, has been controlling the narrative for a long time. Hey, 58 servings of carbohydrates are really good for you, right? Fat's bad for you. Now your brain is mostly fat, right? Over these processed foods are good for you. I mean, it's all turned out to be utter bollocks, as the Brits would say. And as at the same time, people are getting back, or they're looking for a source of truth. And biblical truths continue to show up in all kinds of ways. Geologically, medically, hey, these kinds of grains are good for you. These kinds of grains will provide a perfect protein. These kinds of vegetables are good for you. This kind of fasting is good for you. Those types of things. Historically, they're finding historical places located where they're written down in the Bible, maybe buried under 40 feet of sand or something, but they're getting to them and they find them there. And there's discoveries all the time, from the Pool of Siloam in Jerusalem to, all kinds of places, all kinds of things. So obviously the boat, the ark in Turkey, and they're showing up in current events and in prophetical events. You could be dubious. Many people have been and are less so. Many people have been and have done a 180. A quick Google search on Bible prophecies that have come true or that are coming true may show you more than you want. And you can look at these shows on YouTube as well. So there's all kinds of shows on it, and it's very interesting in terms of Israel, in terms of Gaza, Hamas, Iran, Russia, these different players that look like they're moving towards a greater conflict with Israel sooner than later. And at the same time, most of the world is lining up against Israel. Again, prophetic thing. So all of this is due, it's not really all due to the young, lovely young lady in the American Eagle ad. It's not at all. But it is kind of indicative. There is kind of it's kind of the latest indication of things going on, and it's things are changing in America. There's a lot of bad news, but there's some good news too. And I think that's, I mean, it's a seductive ad, and that has its own moral connotations. But when she says she has good genes, there's no argument here. I think the ad is shown the woke left that they're bankrupt. Their ideas of beauty, their ideas of decency, their ideas of feminine roles are bankrupt. And that certainly is the underlying message that is in the ad. Hey, this is a very feminine, attractive woman, young woman, and she knows it, and they're going to celebrate it. So, interesting kind of point. We went from American Eagle ads to biblical prophecy, but the idea is that there's a trend of the thinking is changing in America, and I think the American Eagle ad is just the latest indication of how fast and how far it's rebounding, how fast and how far that pendulum is swinging from the left away from the woke left, and it's a good thing. So, hey, I'm James Gorey. If you would, help me build this channel by sharing, subscribing, liking, and commenting. All right? So thank you. Appreciate it. See you next time.